Hi guys, welcome to another movie crew review. Today we'll be reviewing The Alto Knights.
The movie stars Robert De Niro, Debra and Cosmo Jarvis.
So, taking place in the underworld of the 50s and the 60s, we follow Frank Costello and Vito Genovese as their real-life rivalry is brought to the screen. We see these mobsters, once friends, become consumed with jealousy and power. This film takes place over the power struggle between the two larger-than-life figures and was quite a historically accurate film. I'm going to start the review off. And I did think that this was a well-done film in terms of the writing. Nicholas Pileggi did the screenplay for it, and it's been going around since the late 70s, so I thoroughly enjoyed the aspect of the history of it. I think that having Robert De Niro play both characters, in my opinion, was a bit of a mistake. He is more the type that plays the Frank character as opposed to the Vito character. Not saying that it was a bad performance. I think that they were both fantastic. I just think that I would have enjoyed it more had it been played against one of his other companions like Al Pacino or Joe Pesci. Vito's more hothead character in this film, so I think Joe Pesci would have gone off a lot more like the actual Vito was. So that's just a personal preference of mine. In terms of the runtime, I understand they've padded it out a bit with their backstory, but the whole using photos for the backstory and a lot of narration was, in my opinion, something that it didn't have the same sense of watching like a Goodfellas or Casino. It doesn't have that kind of draw that I would want from a Mafia film. The story's been told time and time again. You got button up, straight person that's gonna try and do the Mafia in a more direct way, a more legitimate way. And then you got Vito who's, trying to, and this is at the time when drugs are rising up in the streets. So he's trying to do it more of a streets approach, more drugs, more guns, more violence, hit it head on. And so you see that throughout the film, the two guys, how they have different operations and how they operate the styles of their business differently. So I enjoyed the film. I think that the runtime was probably a bit long for what the story was. And even the more climactic scenes, like an end of a Mafia film when everybody gets taken down, like at the end of Casino when you have a court case. Good music plus action of the actual camera, whip pans and things like that, really bring it alive. Whereas in this film, it felt a little low. The whole arrest scene, all the meeting of the five families, it's one of the things that should be the high point of the film, and for me, it wasn't overly done well. Overall, it's still a great Mafia film, but you just got to come in expecting it to be more of a slow burn, a bit of a walk and talk as opposed to action. So, yeah. Cameron?
Yeah, for me, this movie, it chose the direction of being more an historic piece, in my opinion. And the way it was cut and brought to us was in 4 different parts. They're doing 4 different years, and that's how they progress the story. So for me, it just felt like it could have been 4 episodes in a Netflix special. The only redeeming quality for me, the saving grace for this movie, was Robert De Niro. I mean, you put him in any Mafia movie, I think he's going to perform great. It's just a natural role for him. But in terms of everything else, it felt very slow. And for a Mafia movie, because it was so historical accurate, it was just like there was barely any action. I mean, the Frank Costello, no offense to the bloke, but he's a very just non-menacing person. And then you got Vito on the other hand. Yes, he's menacing in a way, but we didn't see him enough on screen, in my opinion, for me to feel anything towards him. Mainly we follow Frank, and it's just like he just wants to get out, which is just fine. But for a movie, for me, a Mafia movie, I just expected a lot more tension. There wasn't really any tension with the politics in the Mafia itself, and then you got the politics outside. I just really couldn't connect with it. And the one good scene I liked, which was probably the only action we got, was with the barber shop scene where one of the mafia members gets murdered. But other than that, it just really dragged out for me. If you're looking for a historical piece, yes, I'd recommend this movie. But if you're looking for a mafia movie, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Moon?
So I tried my best, like giving my 100% to this movie, but I couldn't. I think this movie makes two bad things this season, in my opinion. The first one was like Robert De Niro playing the same character, two different characters. And it was very, like, he looks the same, like, they did little bit of makeup, but I mean, I could not, like, tell, like, difference. It is the same guy, like, sometimes it was hard for me to follow his, like, even, like, apart from the character traits, but sometimes I would get lost which one is he. And the second is the direction, like, the way movies presented. There's a lot of narration going on. Robert De Niro is sitting somewhere, he's sitting in the park somewhere, and he's narrating stuff. And there is so much fast editing in the movie, photographs and stuff. And they're trying to give like the past thing that when they're telling, it's told in a very different way. Like I wouldn't, in a mafia movie, I don't want that. I don't want explanation presented to me that way. Like if I see a movie like Zodiac, when they present in a fast way too, but the way they presented here for a mafia movie particularly, it was such a bad decision and then I couldn't care anything about the movie. I was just, so I checked out like after half an hour, so I can't comment anything about the story or rest of the thing.
I think that I know it was a lower budget film being 50 million, but the way that I would say Goodfellas probably is the best in terms of mafia for backstory and showing what happened. And I think having the narrator fill in a lot of backstory with just black and white snippets of video and photos makes it not very interesting at all. It doesn't have the same, you don't get the same connection to the characters that you would if you actually saw them when they were young, going through, like, say, Godfather Part 2, when they were coming up and bootlegging and things like that. Like, in the space of 2 minutes, he's like, we bootlegged, we did this, we did that, and then we did this, and then he went there. And it was like, all this stuff happened just to set up the film. It would have been good to take a bit out of the main part of the film when it's set in that 60s period and focus a bit on the backstory, a bit on the middle, and then the ending. So yeah, I think that's what let it down. Even we keep cutting to Robert De Niro, but who's he narrating to? Like in every other mafia movie, there's a narration, but it's just like faceless narration.
Yeah, at the end when they sort of panned out, like I thought they'll show someone who is narrating out now, and no one. He's just talking to himself, I guess, and just using the
Reminiscing.
clickly thing to change the photos or something
Yeah,
like that.
he's got that Rolodex of photos. Oh god. But
Yeah. I think I agree with you guys with the whole Robert De Niro, because the Frank and Vito chemistry just wasn't there for me. And I think that's because he was playing both. Like, I don't know. We've seen a lot of actors do the play off each other. Like we had Jim Carrey and then we had Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
And now we've got Robert De Niro showing us it's obviously not an easy thing to do to make us feel that there's two different people there.
But with Jim Carrey and with Robert Pattinson, there was both a reason for them to be the same actor.
Yeah, correct.
There's no reason. It's not like
They're not
it's
even
not like
related.
the Cray brothers, in that film with Tom Hardy, where they're twin brothers, so they got to look the same.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely no reason whatsoever.
When they showed the photos,
Yeah, they never looked the same.
And they look the same.
It was just I
Weird
think
choice.
probably the one interesting character for me, other than the Robert De Niro character, was the character of Vincent Gigante that Cosmo Jarvis plays. I think it was done well because he's not a particularly street smart person at the start, but as his life evolves in real life, he's quite quite a smart person, and he gets big into the whole running drugs and, you know, the family business kind of thing. So I think that the way he portrayed that character was quite good. So that was another of the standout roles. But yeah, we focused a lot on things that I don't think we should have focused on in this film, and that's what made it. It honestly felt like a bit of a drag. It just, there were certain parts where we were like Vito gets married, we're there for like a second, and there's no music, and it's not like that Goodfellas wedding scene. But then there are other parts where they're like talking between each other, and it's just like going on and on and on. It just feels like a Robert De Niro monologue, to be perfectly frank. Like every time they're sitting together, it just feels like if I was like have my eyes closed and start listening to them, I couldn't tell you which one was Frank and which one was Vito, because they just merged too much. So yeah.
All right, guys, going to give our scores. Moon, how many gangsters out of 10?
I'll give 4 gangsters out of 10.
John?
I'll give it 6 gangsters out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it 3.5 gangsters out of 10. All right, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, check out our socials, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.